Get snacking and get cracking with a snack that packs a protein punch. Pistachios are known for their protein power, fiber, and better-for-you unsaturated fats for a combination that may help you keep feeling fuller longer. Wonderful Pistachios is a good source of protein with zero guilt. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. I love that they come in a variety of sizes and flavors, making this the perfect protein snack for any on-the-go adventure. Check out wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more about how these little green wonders can power up your day.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the FloTrack podcast. I'm Ashley Tishins, joined remotely today by Olivia Ekpene. She is out in College Station shooting some workouts, some cool workout Wednesdays coming down the way. Hello, there she is. Hey, Olivia. How are you doing? How is College Station treating you?
I'm doing so good. As you already know, College Station is my second home. Anytime I have a chance to go to Aggie Land, I'm like, sign me up. I cannot wait to be here. So it's going to be great. We're filming some workouts here. And then, of course, the Texas A&M Bluebonnet Invitational will be kicking off over the weekend. So I know you'll be driving up tomorrow for that. But I'm here just a day early to help out Brian grab some workouts. So it's going to be exciting.
I know we're all super excited that we're seeing these workout Wednesdays come out more frequently. So I'm sure there's some really good big stuff coming along the way this afternoon, but let's get to the show and, break down what we're going to talk about today. Today, we're going to break down some of the most important things we learned from the NCAA Conference Championship weekend. We're going to preview some of the matchups and stars we're looking forward to seeing at the World Indoor Championships this weekend in Glasgow, Scotland. Plus, we're also going to break down what we could see potentially from Eliud, Kipchoge, and Sifan Hassan in the Tokyo Marathon this weekend, which will be live on FloTrack in select territories. So, gosh, I feel like first we got to start off with, there were so many conference championships that happened this weekend in the NCAA. So many big things went down on the track. I know there's so much to talk about that we can't even talk about it all, but perhaps let's dive into some of our favorite moments from conference championships over the weekend. Olivia, what really caught your eye this weekend?
I know, as you mentioned, so many great things happened over this weekend across the board, across the country. I've had a chance to watch the ACC a little bit. I was dialed in at the SEC Indoor Championships, and I just want to give a huge shout out to Lamar Diston from Texas A&M, and it's not because she's an Aggie, but because of the fact that she broke the collegiate record in the high jump with a 2-meter clearance. When you just watch the replays that are just going all over social media right now, you can just see the pure excitement, the joy. She even teared up. I know she's been striving for this over the last couple of years, and she finally did it at the SEC Indoor Championships in Arkansas. So her progression over this season alone has just been absolutely beautiful, from 1.94 meters to 1.97 meters and then clearing 2 meters when it really mattered most. So congratulations to Lamar Diston, who was just able to put a really big jump together in Arkansas.
I feel like most of us are just kind of waiting for that moment, right? Waiting for her to break that record, and she finally did it at SECs. And I believe I saw an interview that we did with her afterwards, and she was just like, I'm always just locked in, which I feel like was really interesting to hear from her. She's always locked in. And I mean, shoot, she's by far the favorite when you come to NCAA Indoors next week in that women's high jump. So again, big performance there from her for SECs. I, on the other hand, me, I love the distance stuff. I had to switch over to the distance side, and let's talk about UNC and Parker Wolf in that ACC Indoor Championship. Parker Wolf, he won the mile 3K double, set a new ACC record in the mile. He took down the record that had been held by Yara Nuguse, of all people. And all of this combines to help lead UNC men to their first ACC title since 1996. That is a long time to go without an ACC indoor title. And Parker Wolf was really that big key that kind of helped them get that title. He ran 3:54.17 the mile. They must have watched my preview reel, because I questioned whether or not they would go fast in this race and whether Yara Nuguse's record was actually going to go down. And sure enough, Parker Wolf not only took down the meet record, but he took down the overall ACC record in that event. And then he doubles back in the 3K and runs 7:51.11 for that win there in a much more tactical race. But Olivia, any thoughts there on like for me, I'm like, gosh, like where does this now put UNC in my mind in terms of trying to get a lot of those titles? Because they just look so dominant, especially on that distance side.
They look very strong right now. And I must ask you, Ashley, didn't you say the race was going to be tactical and that the record wasn't going to go down?
I did. I was wrong.
Okay. Well, here we go. I was so excited to see that. Just like all the just great performances across the board for Parker Wolf. And I was just like, yes, we finally went after and got a really fast time in. And I know that was the conversation going into the weekend because there were so many people on that bubble mark. And we're like, are they going to go after it and go really fast? Or were they going to just hang back and make it tactical? But it was just a really solid race. But yeah, UNC looks very, very strong right now. And Parker Wolf is on it. He looks very solid just going into the ACC championships. And, now with NCAAs coming up next week, it's just going to be an exciting weekend for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting too. Last night at around 10 p.m. Eastern, the NCAA released the accepted entries there for NCAA's next weekend. And I looked, he's not entered in that mile 3K. He's entered in the 3K, 5K double, which is interesting to me. So just seeing how some of these athletes are going to be doubling and where they decide to run is interesting to me. So we'll see him next week in Boston. But nonetheless, so those were some of our favorite moments. But I feel like we also have to think about, with Boston and with NCAA indoors coming ahead in just about a week's time, I think we need to think about what are some of the biggest lessons and biggest things we learned about teams and individuals from conference now shifting over to NCAAs and how that could have an impact on the championships. So Olivia, what is the biggest thing you learned this weekend?
A lot of it is going to come from the SEC Indoor Championships because, like I said, I was completely dialed in. I was able to watch it live. Jamesia Ford looks strong. I think one of the biggest questions I had going into the weekend, because we didn't really have the official entries going into SECs, was what is Jamesia Ford going to do? And Jamesia Ford showed up as a freshman winning that indoor 200-meter title. And then, oh, gosh, Ashley, that 4x4, oh, my goodness. Yeah. I remember blowing up our group text. I'm like, y'all, Jamesia Ford is hunting down Arkansas right now. And give Arkansas the props. Like, they ran away with that title. They looked absolutely ridiculous. Pretty much every person that lined up for an event pretty much scored in the finals. They didn't have the full squad, but the fact that Jamesia just put out a really blazing fast split just shows how much strength she has right now. And I know we talked about this on a previous episode. We were like, what is Jamesia Ford going to do next? Because obviously the end goal for a lot of these athletes is the Olympic trials. And of course, I would hate to see athletes get burnt out. We see it so many times year after year, but I'm trusting Coach Hall right now. Jamesia looks solid, and I'm just excited to see what she does, and Arkansas looks great too. But I want to get into the breaking news that happened that, one of the things that we reported over this week, and USTFCCA posted on their Twitter that Chris Morales-Williams' 400-meter time, that he went 44:49 to break the world record, will not be ratified. And my heart completely sunk. I remember being in the office when you told me that, and I was so upset, Ashley, because it's just like it was block start. So I think the biggest lesson going into NCAAs is what can we do as a track and field sport to make sure that the blocks are the right blocks moving forward? Because when you have moments like this, where you're running on a very fast track in Arkansas against some of the best people in the country and in the world, we need to make sure that we're setting our collegians up to be successful if world records fall. And so I think that's my biggest thing to learn from is I don't even know where to begin with this. Like, is this something that falls on the University of Arkansas? Is this something that falls within, NCAAs? I think we need to just do better when it comes to that, because you just never know what's going to happen. But what were your thoughts on just hearing that news that it wouldn't be ratified because the blocks weren't right?
It's just unfortunate, right? Like, I think when this went down this weekend on Saturday at SECs, to be honest, I was not thinking a world record was going to be going down at any conference meet this weekend, let alone in the 400 from Christopher Morales-Williams, the sophomore from Georgia. And then all of a sudden you're blowing up my phone, Olivia, saying a world record was just broken. And I'm like, excuse me? And so you see the 44:49, and it was just such an incredible moment. Like, he had never broken 45 before, and he just has the race of his life at SECs. And then to see it, I think the issue here for me, right, is like, I think it's easy here to point the blame on World Athletics. Like, we need to make this, like, We know that these collegians are running super fast. We've seen Michael Norman back in the day run 44:52, which would have been a world record, but it's not because, again, kind of similar issues. And it's just like, why like you said, like, I wonder why, like, why as a sport are we like making it so hard to recognize some of these incredible accomplishments? You know what I mean? It's like,
no, I'm right there with you.
And it's one of those things where it's like I feel like as a sport we're letting down this young man who did something really incredible, and maybe he uses it now as motivation to go after something even faster at NCAA's next weekend. But like, again, it shouldn't have to be that case where, like, if you look at an indoor all-time list, it's like, oh, the two fastest times all-time indoors are him and Michael Norman. That's not the actual world record because there wasn't a timing, censored blocks. Basically, that was why it didn't count.
Right.
It's just interesting to me. I did ask the chat for some thoughts.
So what's the chat think?
I said, thoughts on Morales Williams' record not being ratified. All in the Game says feels like Bush League behavior by the SEC and NCAA. Again, I don't know if it's hard to blame one person. I think it's just as a better community, we need to, and it probably does fall on World Athletics and maybe like just the rules. Like, I feel like there just needs to be more of I think we need a better conversation about how to approach this.
Oh, absolutely. And if it is like, hey, moving forward, we just need censor blocks, then I feel like every university, and I can only imagine how expensive that is, but like, that's just something to think about. Like, moving forward, I saw where Ryan Krauser commented on our post that you made with the graphic, like, welcome to the club. And I was just like, dang, it just blows. Like, this is stuff that could have been avoided.
Yeah.
Get censored blocks, and there wouldn't have been an issue because it wasn't a drug testing issue. He was drug tested.
Yeah.
Again, we're waiting for the results, but let's just say all is clear. It's just get the NCAA their blocks. That's all I'm going to say. Just make sure we're all.
I don't know who needs to get it done. Someone just get the censored blocks everywhere, and then we won't have an issue. Then we'll be all good to go.
That's how I feel.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
Well, nonetheless, that was definitely for me. I think one of the biggest things I learned this weekend is Christopher Morales Williams is probably the guy to beat now in the 400. I feel like you can't deny that after running a 44:49. But I will say that men's 400 is pretty loaded, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out next week in Boston, especially considering how things have developed over the past few days in terms of how this went. All right. It's a big weekend. Obviously, we had NCAA conference.
Like we say this every week now.
I know. It was a big weekend, but we have an even bigger weekend coming up, and it's the World Indoor Championships this weekend will be held March 1st through the 3rd in Glasgow, Scotland. So many storylines to break down. Like, we could have a whole show, I feel like, dedicated to World Indoor Preview, but we can't have a whole show talking for hours and hours about World Indoor, so we're going to kind of consolidate this and talk about some of our biggest matchups and storylines that we're looking forward to seeing this weekend in Scotland. So let's begin first with what we're terming the big matchup that we're looking forward to at World Indoors. I feel like we talk about this duo every show. That men's 60, Noah Lyles versus Christian Coleman. We saw Noah Lyles take down Christian Coleman at USA Indoors. What is going to happen this weekend in Glasgow?
I don't know. I am just thinking, are we going to see a different turnout? I don't know. I feel like these guys are so neck and neck. I know both of them want to medal, get the gold. I'm just cheering for Christian Coleman here. I'm all for the Rockets start. I just want Christian Coleman to get that gold. I'm going to be honest. Like, I'm a fan of Noah Lyles. I'm all for it. I just feel like Christian Coleman's block start, I can't even say is unbeatable because he got beat at indoor championships. But I feel like Christian Coleman, that just puts him in a whole nother element of just getting hungrier for it. He's like, dang it, I haven't lost to Noah Lyles head on in a 60 meters. It's not going to happen when it really, truly matters most at the World Indoor Championships. So it's going to be hard to separate those two, 643 and 644. And yeah, Ashley, what are your thoughts? Do you think, are we going to see a different turnout? Do you think Noah Lyles is going to grab it? Just what are your thoughts?
It's interesting to me, right? I feel like obviously Noah is the guy to beat, right? I mean, we've seen his top end speed. You know, like we saw how he came back in that race at USA Indoors to beat Christian Coleman, who's just an insane starter, and he's the world record holder in the men's 60. However, I will say, I feel like we kind of have to look at all sides here. To be fair, Coleman lost to Noah, obviously at USA Indoors, but that was just his second 60-meter final of all of 2024, his entire indoor season. So part of me is like, gosh, if he's running 6:44 in just his second 60 of the year, like he can clean up a few things in a couple weeks to then win, to come back and take down Noah Lyles and win in, you know, at World Indoors. However, again, I feel like it is hard to pick against Noah at this point, just seeing that top end speed. But here's how I kind of think about it, right? If Coleman can have the start that he always has, that we know that he's going to have, but then he gets closer to matching Noah's speed in the later stages of the race, then it's over. Christian Coleman wins the race. On the other hand, if Lyles gets out of the blocks extremely well, then it's over for Coleman. So it's really just going to depend on like how the race plays out and how these gentlemen clean up their races going into World Indoors and then how they perform on the world stage, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen it time and time again where, gosh, we cannot argue against Noah Lyles' top end speed. It is there.
Yeah.
It's just there, and there's no stopping it. It's a huge freight train coming down the 60-meter straightaway. You can't stop that train. But if Noah Lyles has one of the best starts that he has had all year round, he's winning it. If Christian Coleman continues to be explosive at the blocks, have an amazing drive phase, and then, like you said, just clean up the last 20 meters. So like between 40 and 60 meters, Christian Coleman's going to win it. So it all just depends on who's going to get the job done, you know, over the weekend. But I'm cheering for Christian Coleman. That block start is just incredible right now. But again, you can't stop Noah Lyles' top end speed at this point.
I did throw this again in the chat. I was like, all right, guys, who wins Lyles versus Coleman in the 60? And I'm getting a lot of Christian Colemans. We have actual random in the chat saying Coleman wins this. Lyles is approaching his limits. We know Coleman still has a lot more in him. All in the Game says Coleman needs to go 6.3 something to assert his dominance. And Troy Smith says the 60 is such a razor-thin event and that he's picking Coleman. So this is interesting. And this is another good point, too, that actual random says, is that Noah would need a third consecutive personal best to have a chance at winning, in his opinion. Which is kind of true to think about.
My
question,
like,
he's PR'd every race, basically. Almost.
Yeah. So will we see a world record fall then?
Oh,
because I feel like it's going to take something. It's going to take something fast, you know? And now that we're not at altitude, my brain spins a little bit. It's the World Indoor Championships. You have a chance to win a medal. Will we see a world record fall in this 60?
I don't know. Personally, I feel like we'll probably see similar times, probably like 6'4", low. That's kind of what I'm thinking, but you never know. It is the World Indoor Championships, so anything could happen. Anything could happen.
Anything can happen, that is for sure.
Well, obviously, that's the big matchup that we're really looking forward to, and we've been, I feel like, hyping up this whole indoor season, looking forward to this. However, I feel like, you know, there's so many big names that are going to be competing this weekend, but also just some athletes that I think can make huge statements at World Indoors. Not only maybe win their event, but just make a statement. This is an Olympic year, and it's important for these athletes to just, you know, keep charging looking ahead to Paris. So I'm wondering, to you, Olivia, which athlete do you think could make that big statement in their event at World Indoors?
Goodness, I think anybody that wins the 60-meter gold on the women's side is going to make a huge statement. I think of Julian Alfred, Aaliyah Hobbs, Ava Swoboda. Those are the top three contenders for me. Julian Alfred, though, I feel, in my opinion, if you were to ask me, Liv, who do you think is going to win? I'm going with Julian Alfred. My reason being is not only does she has the fastest time going into these championships with the 6:99, but this year she has just, I feel like I don't want to even say evolved, but I feel like she's just picked up where she left off. Like from her collegiate season, she's going to be seeking and becoming the first athlete from St. Lucia to win an Olympic medal. So right now we're thinking stepping stones. We're thinking the steps to get there. And if Julian can take down this field, I already know that's going to boost her confidence moving forward. But as you already know, Aaliyah Hobbs, I am a huge fan of her. I feel like if anybody's going to challenge Julian, it's going to be Aaliyah Hobbs. Aaliyah looks great. I know at USA Indoor Trials, she had her calf taped up, and I was like, "Is everything okay?" And she's like, "No, everything's good. I feel great. We're ready to go." Her and Micaiah Briscoe are looking to do something strong too. But Aaliyah Hobbs, I feel like, is the one that could really challenge Julian Alfred. But then you can't forget the Polish runner. She's just always been in the mix, Ashley, and she's made, I feel like, every single final at a major championship. She was 4th at the World Indoor Championships 2 years ago in Belgrade and missed the podium by 0.02 of a second. So you already know she's hungry to not only get on the podium, but probably to also grab gold. So that's the reason why I think any 3 of those ladies or anybody else that I did not mention can make a huge statement at the World Indoor Championships, especially in that 60. But I think Julian Alfred is just a whole nother beast, and I think she's going to grab this gold.
Yeah, that women's 60 is interesting to me because, like you mentioned, like there's some in this field that are just veterans and have been in this sport for a long time and especially are really experienced in that 60. But then you have someone like Julian Alfred who's, she made her mark at the collegiate level and she's already transitioning so well to that pro level, especially in this Olympic year. And we all know the kind of speed and power that she has. And again, it could really probably just come down to a combination of who gets the best start and then who can really power down that stretch in the latter stages of the races. I feel like right now, like, you're right. I think if Julian gets this win, like, this is a huge statement for her. Like, this would solidify her in my mind as someone that is solidly a favorite to medal in like the 100 and the 200 at the Olympics this upcoming summer. So, like your picks there. I like that. That's a good one where I think people can make a statement. I'm going to shift it just slightly. The women's 60-meter hurdles. I think that Devin Charlton could really make a statement this weekend because I think she surprised people maybe with her 60-meter hurdles world record at Milrose Games. She nearly tied it last week at the World Indoor Tour finale in Madrid. And I feel like this should be her chance to show that, like, she can be the one to beat come outdoors in that 100-meter hurdles when we're looking at the outdoor season. Obviously, again, it's an Olympic year, and to me, if she can, not only win this race, but maybe challenge her own world record again, which she holds with Tia Jones as well, like, I feel like this could, again, solidify her as, like, you need to watch out for me this summer going into outdoor when we're thinking about the Olympics.
I know. We're not going to see the matchup. I was so
I know.
I was so upset. I was like, oh no, we're not going to see we're just going to have to wait. We're just going to have to wait to see Tia Jones and Devin Charlton toe the line, head on. But I like that pick, Ashley. I think Devin Charlton, for me, it came almost as a surprise when I saw it live at Milrose. And I think just because I wasn't expecting anybody in the field to do it. And then the fact that Devin Charlton went out there, did what she was supposed to do. And she said she's been feeling it, that a big race was coming. And I'm like, this is great. So I feel like if Devin Charlton could execute a very similar race, like you said, just thinking about the Olympics, it's a clean slate. And I talked to her at Milrose and she's like, there's literally the hurdles on the lady side is deep. Very, very deep.
Yes.
And so I feel like there's really not a clear favorite going into it because it could be anybody's race at anybody's time. And so she's like, it's a clean slate, brand new year. We're getting after it. And sure enough, a world record came from it. So will we see another one? I don't know, but I'm excited to see what Devin Charlton could do at World Indoors this weekend.
I know we'll definitely have our eyes on those events and all the other events going on as well. I know the distance side is going to be loaded as well. So I know we're just really looking forward to seeing all the statements that athletes make this weekend. But our final kind of segment for World Indoors, I feel like this indoor season has been the season of world records. And at the last meet of the year, will we see even more world records go down? Olivia, what is the most likely world record that we could see go down this weekend in Scotland?
Oh gosh, I have like 5 or 6 of them down. I don't know if that's a hot take.
That's a hot take.
But
that's a hot take.
Okay, let's start with this one because you and I both agree here. And I think the chat I feel like they would agree with us here. 60-meter hurdles, Grant Holloway.
I mean, if he decides he wants to go real quick, yeah.
And for everybody that's been giving him smack about not finishing, running the finals, he will be in the finals, y'all. He's trying to get that medal. So I think we can see something great from Grant. He looked so effortless in Albuquerque. He looked strong. And I remember when we talked about this going into the indoor championships, you're like, I'm going to see a world record. And I was like, nah, we're not going to see it. It ain't happening.
Well, there's that altitude.
World record. I was like, that's true. But I was just thinking, I don't know if Grant wanted to put something fast out there yet. And now that I feel like, like you said, it's the final indoor meet of the year, Grant Holloway toeing the line. You're going to have Trey Cunningham in that mix too. It's going to be fast. So if I had to pick one that I was like, almost like 95% guarantee I think would happen, I'm picking Grant Holloway in the 60-meter hurdles. Do you agree, Ashley? I need to know if the chat agrees too.
I definitely think he could run something fast. Of course, in my mind, I'm like, well, he ran the 7.27 at altitude, so you get that boost. But we also know Grant's a gamer. Like, he's going to run fast. Yes. He's so dominant at the 60-meter hurdles. I feel like, again, we've said this like every show for the past month, talking about how he hasn't lost a 60-meter hurdle race since high school. So, like, this guy knows how to lock in. And so, right. Yeah, I'll say, yeah, we'll see a world record from Grant this weekend. I'm going to manifest it. So I like that pick.
Okay.
I like that pick.
All right. Another pick, I feel like you would agree. Women's 400. I saw someone put in the chat, and I think we're all on the same page. Femke Bowl. Okay, Femke Bowl, doing Femke Bowl things. All right. I feel like I'm like 95% sure that we'll see another world record fall in the 400. That's going to be fast. Femke Bowl is just on a whole nother level. I think at this point, it's how fast can she go, which is that for me is scary to even think about.
Yeah,
so that's where I'm at.
I would say that like that's a probably like of all the world records that could go down in Scotland, like I think that's one that could be much more likely than any other event, just because we know how Femke Boll's a gamer and we know her fitness. Yes. She ran that 49.24 earlier this month like it was just a breeze, like she was just a casual, jogging. Yeah, just another day in the office. And I think someone's mentioned in the chat too that I believe she said after that race that she still had some stuff left in the tank. So if she still has some stuff left in the tank, that could be really scary to think about how fast she could potentially run this weekend.
Yeah. I see in the chat where All in the Game wrote, will Bull be more focused on winning gold than the world record? And I think how my brain goes is if I run fast, the time is going to come with it. Meaning, if I have the mindset that we're striving for the gold and I want it to be fast and I'm going to leave it out all on the track, then a world record could potentially go. So I think in her brain, she's probably going to think, let's get gold, but we already know she's going to be moving. So yeah, I just wanted to answer that. I feel like that's how I feel.
For me, it's she's obviously established herself as the world leader in this 400, like very solidly. Right. So it's really up to her to dictate what she wants to do. So in my mind, I'm like, if I'm Femke Boll, I'm like, shoot, I want to go out as fast as I can and run as fast as I can to get that gold. And obviously that would come with it if she runs, a 49.2 or lower. So I agree with you there for sure.
Okay. So Ashley, what other records do you think will fall?
Actually, I want to talk about this one first before we talk about some of the other ones that I have written down. I feel like we got to talk about the men's shot put because
yes!
We saw Ryan Krauser at USA Indoors threw an incredible mark there to win the USA title. But then afterwards, he was talking about how he was really excited for Scotland in World Indoors because he wanted to put the world record closer to where it should be, referring to when he threw an insane world record last year at a meet and it didn't get ratified because I think the ring wasn't like standardized, like a standardized size or something like that. Yeah. So I feel like he's just like, all right, guys, let's throw it out there and do something really big.
I agree. And again, I'm still at that 95% zone where I think Ryan Krauser can, if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be Ryan Krauser. So there's no question in my mind. Yeah, it's just so unfortunate. Again, it's one of those situations where the ring, I think I read where it was like the ring was somewhat downhill.
Yes,
and just, like it just wasn't wide enough or something like that, or too wide, like the ring itself. I don't know. But yeah, he's just like, we're going to get it closer to where it needs to be. right? And so I'm like, yes, Ryan Krauser, I am all for it. Let's get that world record in that shot put.
Yeah, so I think he'll improve on his world record there, get it closer to what he thinks it should be.
Yes.
I'll also throw this out here too. If this woman right here wants to make this a fast race, she can. And that's Gudaf Sagai in the women's 3K. If she wants to make this a really fast race, I watched her nearly break the world record in, I believe, this event earlier this year on the World Indoor Tour. And if she wants to make this a fast race, she can, and she could go after that potentially. That may be a little bit of a stretch, but we've also seen her at Prefontaine, the way she gutted out a women's 5K there and set the world record there outdoors, which was really incredible to watch. So she's one where, like, she can lock in, and if she hits that next switch and she just wants to dial it in and make it a quick race, she can.
Yeah, I think it brings up the question that we were asking in regards to the ACC mile. Is it going to be a tactical race, or are we just going all in and just trying to run fast? If I'm in that 3K, I would just go for it. You know, like, I'm just trying to run fast, break a world record, get my gold along the way. But how do you think this race will be approached, though?
It's always so hard to say, because I feel like distance races, once you're getting to that championship level, like, it's usually much more tactical, like,
right,
especially on the men's side, I feel like. But who knows? Maybe they'll decide to prove me wrong and go all out. I would love that. I feel like that sometimes makes it an even more exciting race. But I guess we'll find out this weekend in some of those distance races for sure.
Yes. Here's another one too. I see we're all in the game wrote Mondo in the pole vault.
I mean, he had some good attempts at it like recently and just missed barely.
Yeah.
So,
gosh, why did I not think of Mondo for this?
Yeah.
Mondo did not really cross my mind. I have one more down, but it wasn't Mondo. That is a great question. Why not? Because he always goes for it.
He always
goes for it.
It always goes where he solidly wins an event. He's the last guy left. He then just decides to just bump the bar up all the way to a new world record. And I believe the last time he did this recently, I can't remember what meet, he got really close. Got some good attempts at it. But Mondo's one where, like, he knows how to perform on the biggest stages. Like, we've seen what he has done in Eugene multiple times at Prefontaine, but then also at World Outdoors in Eugene in 2022. We've seen how he's performed. He's a guy that feeds off of that energy of big championships, I think, and uses that when he's trying to go for world records. So I'll say, we'll see a world record for Mondo this weekend. I'll say that.
I love it. Okay, I have one final one, and this might be the hot take.
Oh, okay.
The women's 60.
No, absolutely
692.
not. Absolutely not.
Julian Alfred went 699.
That is such a big difference you got to make up right there.
Ava Sabota.
You're not at altitude. You're not at altitude.
Dude.
No.
The competition's going to be there.
No.
Again, we're talking 7/100ths of a second.
That's a lot in a 60.
Like, we're talking like a quicker first step. We're talking about a
quicker first step is going to get you 700s. I don't know about that one. I don't know.
I feel it. I feel it in my bones. I'm not going to lie to you.
Like, maybe we'll see like a 698, but, like, I don't know.
Ashley.
I don't know. That's like
Julian Alfred went 699.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And when has Julian Alfred been pressed this year?
Melrose?
She hasn't.
Melrose?
Okay, Melrose. I give you that. But now we're later down the road. Like, she's been at practice. She's been training.
See, All in the Game is with me. All in the Game is with me. He says that's a lot in a 60, not at altitude. See? Me and All in the Game are on the same page here.
This altitude talk. I'm manifesting it.
Oh, gosh.
I'm manifesting it so that way next week I could be like, guess who said it? I did. I called it here on the podcast. I just think it could happen.
Interesting.
I'm just thinking championship, Olympic gold, like, we're striving for that. Next steps. Why not get a world record along the way?
I will say,
but that's my take. That's the hot take that I have.
I will say, Brian Dybel, our coworker, is in the chat right now, and he said that he saw Julian training at Texas yesterday. So I'm gonna ask Brian right here on the air, and maybe he'll respond back. How did she look? how does she look going into the championships? I'm curious. Let's see if we get a response. I know we have seen her train
Wait, if she was
before.
at Texas yesterday.
Like, when is she leaving?
Wait.
Today?
Yeah, when is she leaving?
Today, I guess.
Now that's a bigger question.
I know, it's like,
it would have to be today. This kicks off on the 1st, right? The 1st?
Friday. Friday.
And we've seen people post that they're on their way now, right? Like, I thought I saw, like, Talitha Diggs posted that she's on the way.
It just depends on when. It depends on when that women's 60 is. I'm trying to pull up the list of events here. It may be, like, on...
But didn't we see a picture of Noah Lyles?
Yeah, the men's 60, the men's 60 is on Friday, so that's why. The women's 60, the women's 60 doesn't start until Saturday, so that could be why that she's still there. I'm assuming she'd leave today.
Okay.
I'm still waiting on a response from our lovely Brian. Oh, here
Brian
we go.
Just said she left last night, I believe. Okay, I was about to say.
She said it was only for a second. She was working on starts. Okay.
Okay. I'm telling you, 700's right there.
Okay.
Right there.
All right. I'm
on it.
I'll give it to you. I'll let you try to manifest that. I'll let you try to manifest it. Well, I know we're all really excited for World Indoors, but that's also not the only big event going on this weekend. Like, gosh, this weekend we're going to be all over the place talking about so many things, but we have to end our show with a little bit of chatting about the Tokyo Marathon. This is going to be live on FloTrack in the very early morning hours on Sunday. I know I will be awake watching it because we're going to have Eliud Kipchoge and Sifan Hassan running in this event. Two huge names. Really excited for this. Olivia, are you really excited for this too? Like, what are your thoughts? Do you have any thoughts going into Tokyo?
Oh, I'm pumped. I'm really excited. Anytime I hear Sifan Hassan taking the line in the marathon, I'm like, yes. I think I'm just really curious to see what Hassan is going to do in this race. This is going to be her 3rd ever career marathon. It's going to be great. I just feel like she's just one of those athletes that like really challenges herself to really just get out there and just test that range. So I think that's what I'm personally looking forward to the most, is just seeing what Hassan can do and what kind of time is she going to drop ahead of the Olympics coming up. But what are your thoughts, Ashley? What are you looking forward to?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think one of the storylines here, if you're looking at Eliud Kipchoge, he holds that Tokyo Marathon record at 2:02:40, which he set a couple years ago. He won the Berlin Marathon last year. That was the last marathon that he has run. And then, like you said, Sifan Hassan, like every time this woman steps to the line, she just like blows me away. When I was in Chicago and I got to see her run that marathon, and for someone with her only being her 2nd marathon ever to run the 2nd fastest all-time mark in history at 2:13:44, like that was just incredible to me. Like I think she's someone that she can dial it in and she pushes through pain. Like I remember after the Chicago Marathon, she sat in front of all the reporters, myself included, and told us, she was like, I was in so much pain. She did not deny it. She was like, that last 5K, she said she was debating whether she would ever want to run a marathon again. But here she is running Tokyo.
And here we are.
I mean,
here we are.
And I think it's interesting too, like seeing these results. It's interesting because we're not sure what she's going to decide to focus on once it comes to the Paris Olympics. Like, is she going to do the marathon? Is she going to stick to the track? Would she try to attempt both somehow? I think maybe seeing how she does in Tokyo could set her up for potentially what we could see later on. So,
yeah, I agree. It's just going to give us a little preview into what to expect later down the road.
Yes, and then I see someone in the chat was asking for what time the Tokyo Marathon is. I'm trying to look it up because I know it's in like the middle of the night. So 1 second and I'll pull that up. But nonetheless, it's interesting because it's like Tokyo is not the fastest course around, but we could, based on how we've seen marathons go within the past months, like I would not be surprised if we see something pretty fast that could rival those course records.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be a good one.
Alrighty. For some reason, I still can't find the time of the Tokyo Marathon, but I'll be sure to update everyone once I can find out that time. It's saying 5:30.
I was just about to say 5:30 Central. I don't think that
is not
right,
correct.
because you're going to be up.
That is not correct. It'll be in the early morning hours on Sunday. That is for sure. But nonetheless, just so many big things happening as always, right, Olivia?
Yes. There's always something. It's just a big weekend. It's crazy. And we're going to say that next week. It's just going to be a big weekend with NCAAs, but like we're in the thick of it now. It's just everyone's doing everything. And it's an Olympic year, so everything's just heightened up a little bit more. But I'm excited. I'm along for the roller coaster ride.
It's exciting. Any final thoughts before we close out our show?
No, I'm just super pumped. Great weekend. Stay tuned. World records are falling.
All right.
That's all I'm going to say.
We'll see if that happens. We'll TBD on that. Thanks again, everyone, for joining the show today. As always, be sure to follow us on all of our social channels. Continue to tune in for the FloTrack podcast every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central Time. Again, we love all the engagement. We love being with you every Wednesday. So thanks again, and we'll see you next week.